The galaxy had been watching Earth for centuries, but the planet had never been considered a serious threat. To most alien species, humans were primitive. They had no vast interstellar empires, no advanced alien technologies, and their history was filled with wars and chaos. Yet, despite everything, there was one thing humans had always shown: an unwillingness to give up. It was on a quiet day in the year 2425 when everything changed. A sudden, powerful signal rippled across the galaxy. The message, coming from Earth's orbital defense stations, was simple but clear. Humanity was ready. No one had expected this. The ancient civilizations of the galaxy had always assumed Earth's time would come, when their reckless behavior would eventually lead to their destruction. But this signal was different. It wasn't a call for help, nor was it a warning. It was an invitation. The first reaction from the Zorthan Dominion, the most feared empire in the galaxy, was laughter. The Zorthans had vast fleets of warships, superior technology, and an unmatched understanding of space warfare. How could a primitive world like Earth challenge them? They decided to teach the humans a lesson. The Zorthan High Command sent their largest fleet, thousands of warships, each capable of obliterating a planet, toward Earth. The mission was clear: destroy the humans before they could pose any threat. They believed the battle would be easy. After all, how could a few thousand human warships, with only basic weapons by galactic standards, stand up to them? As the Zorthan fleet approached Earth's solar system, they observed something that made them pause. The human ships, though small in number, were unlike any they had encountered before. They were sleek, fast, and strange in design. Their outer hulls seemed unmarked by the passage of time, as if they were built to withstand more than just the harshness of space. But it wasn't just the ships that were unusual. It was the energy they radiated. A sense of determination and defiance came from them, something the Zorthans had never felt from other species. The Zorthan fleet deployed their battle formation as they neared Earth's orbit. The humans, they assumed, would cower before their superior firepower. But what the Zorthans didn't know was that Earth's Armada had been preparing for this day for years. The humans had studied every major galactic power, learning from each, and had developed a new kind of strategy, one based on speed, surprise, and adaptability. They didn't rely on brute force. Instead, they used their greatest strength, their creativity. When the first shots were fired, the Zorthan fleet's commanders expected an easy victory. Their massive ships unleashed a barrage of energy blasts toward the human fleet. But to their surprise, the human ships didn't scatter or panic. Instead, they maneuvered with precision, dodging the blasts and countering with smaller, faster projectiles. The Zorthans couldn't keep up. Their advanced targeting systems were outmatched by the human ships' unpredictable movements. The Zorthans launched wave after wave of attacks, trying to corner the humans. But Earth's fleet was everywhere and nowhere at once, always staying one step ahead. The human ships used their smaller size to weave through the battlefield, hiding in asteroid fields, dodging in the planet's shadow, and launching hit-and-run strikes. Every time the Zorthans thought they had the upper hand, the humans would turn the tables with an unexpected move. The Zorthans soon realized that the humans weren't just fighting back. They were outsmarting them at every turn. They began to question their assumptions. How could these primitive beings know such complex tactics? How were they able to keep up with their advanced technology? The turning point came when the Zorthans tried to deploy their most powerful weapon, the Void Cannon, a massive energy beam capable of obliterating entire planets. They believed that with this, they could end the battle in a single strike. But when they fired, the human fleet responded in an unexpected way. Hundreds of human ships formed a protective barrier around Earth, using their own weapons to create a reflective shield that redirected the beam back at the Zorthans. It was a tactic no one had ever seen before. The Zorthan fleet faltered, retreating as their own weapon turned against them. For the first time in galactic history, the Zorthan Dominion was forced to retreat. The humans had done the impossible. They had held their ground against one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy, and in doing so, they sent a message across the stars. Earth was no longer a primitive world. The galaxy had just discovered that humans, though small and underestimated, had something no other species had: an unbreakable will to fight and survive. As the Zorthan ships fled, the humans watched from their command stations. They hadn't won the war, but they had won something even more important. The galaxy had taken notice, and from that day on, humanity's place in the stars was no longer in question. The news of the failed invasion spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The mighty Zorthan Dominion, one of the most feared empires in all of space, had been forced to retreat by a small young planet known as Earth. The galaxy's most powerful civilizations were stunned. They had all assumed humanity was just another primitive species in the grand scheme of things. But the humans had shown they were anything but weak. They had shown a strength no one expected. The Zorthans, deeply humiliated by their failure, quickly began to regroup. They couldn't let their defeat be known to the galaxy. To them, losing to a species as young as humanity was a disgrace. They began to plot their revenge, determined to wipe out Earth and its Armada once and for all. This time, they would not take any chances. The Zorthan High Command spent months preparing. They sent for their greatest fleet commanders and began building new, stronger weapons. This time, they would bring an overwhelming force. They were not going to make the same mistake again. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the people were filled with a sense of victory. But there was no time to celebrate. The fleet commanders knew the Zorthans would return, and when they did, they would come with everything they had. Earth's Armada had won the first battle, but the war was far from over. Humanity's leaders met in secret, discussing their next move. Their fleet had shown incredible resilience and resourcefulness, but it was clear they could not face another battle of that scale and survive. Earth's warships were powerful, but they were no match for the sheer size and strength of the Zorthan fleet. How did we win this last battle? General Ramirez, one of Earth's top commanders, asked during the strategy meeting. We had fewer ships, less firepower, and yet we managed to force them into retreat. How do we make sure it doesn't happen again? His question echoed in the room, and there was silence for a moment. The answer came from Admiral Silva, who had been studying the enemy for years. We didn't win because of our ships or weapons, she said, her voice calm but firm. We won because the Zorthans underestimated us. They expected us to fight like everyone else, organized, predictable. But we are not like them. We fight differently. Silva's words resonated deeply with the leaders. The human fleet was not like any other. They were quick, clever, and unpredictable. Their biggest strength lay in their ability to adapt and improvise in the heat of battle. They didn't just follow orders. They thought for themselves and reacted based on the situation. But even with this advantage, the question remained: how could they prepare for the Zorthans' full force? In the following weeks, Earth's scientists, engineers, and military strategists worked together, focusing on ways to enhance the fleet's capabilities. They didn't just focus on building stronger ships or better weapons. Instead, they concentrated on increasing the flexibility and speed of their forces. Earth was known for one thing above all else: innovation. They began constructing a new generation of ships, faster and more maneuverable than anything they had before. These ships would not rely on brute force or superior weaponry, but on the human mind, quick thinking, creativity, and adaptability. They trained their fleet commanders to think outside the box, to act in ways that would confuse and overwhelm their enemies. As the Zorthans readied their new invasion force, they began to feel confident again. Their new fleet was far larger, better equipped, and more powerful than before. They believed this time there would be no stopping them. Earth would fall, and humanity's brief resistance would become just another forgotten footnote in history. But the Zorthans didn't know what was waiting for them. When the Zorthan fleet finally arrived in Earth's solar system, they were met with something unexpected. Rather than the predictable line of defense they had encountered before, the human fleet had scattered into smaller, more agile units, each one positioned in different parts of the system. The Zorthans didn't know where to strike first. Every time they locked onto a target, the humans had already moved, evading with astonishing speed. This time, the humans weren't just reacting to the Zorthans' movements. They were anticipating them. Earth's new fleet ships seemed to know exactly where the Zorthans would go next, and they were already in place to counter their attacks. It wasn't long before the Zorthans realized they were losing control. The humans had once again turned the tables. Every time they sent a fleet to attack a specific area, the humans responded with a well-timed strike, catching them off guard. The humans were everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Then came the ultimate surprise. A small fleet of human ships managed to infiltrate the heart of the Zorthan fleet. They didn't fire a single shot. Instead, they used a new technology to hack into the Zorthan command network. Within moments, the Zorthan fleet's communications were in chaos, their systems compromised. The Zorthans were furious, but they had no choice but to retreat again. This time, they left Earth's solar system with no declaration of war, only the bitter taste of defeat. They had been beaten once more, not by firepower, but by the unpredictable, relentless will of humanity. As the Zorthans fled, Earth's leaders knew one thing for certain. They had just proven something the galaxy would never forget. Humans weren't just capable of winning wars. They could outthink and outblast their enemies, no matter how powerful. And this was only the beginning. As the Zorthan fleet retreated once again, the galaxy watched in disbelief. The once unstoppable Zorthan dominion had been forced to retreat by a species that no one had ever taken seriously. Humanity's victory over the Zorthans wasn't just a military success. It was a mystery. How had a relatively young species like humanity managed to outsmart one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy? Across the stars, whispers began to spread. Earth, once a forgotten backwater planet, had suddenly become the center of attention. Alien species from distant galaxies began sending ambassadors to Earth to learn more about the humans who had defeated the mighty Zorthans. The question on everyone's mind was the same. What made humanity so special? In response to these questions, a delegation from the Karun, an ancient and wise alien race, arrived on Earth. The Karun were known across the galaxy for their neutrality and their vast knowledge of galactic history. They had seen countless civilizations rise and fall, and they had observed humanity for centuries. The Karun, however, had never interfered with Earth's development. They had always watched from a distance, quietly admiring humanity's persistence. The Karun's leader, a tall and serene being named Zaruan, addressed Earth's leaders in a public meeting. "We have observed your species for many years," Zaruan began, his voice calm and measured. "And we believe there is something about humanity that makes you unique, a quality that even the mighty Zorthans did not fully understand." The humans listened intently as Zaruan continued. "Your species possesses a strength that no other race in the galaxy has. It is not your technology, your ships, or your weapons. It is something far more powerful. You call it will. The will to survive. The will to fight against overwhelming odds. The will to never give up, no matter the cost." Zaruan explained that the Karun had studied the history of Earth, and they had seen it all. The wars, the struggles, the near destruction of the planet itself. And yet, time and time again, humanity had overcome every challenge. In the face of destruction, humans found a way to rebuild. When pushed to the brink of extinction, they rose again. This was the secret to their success. "You do not give up when faced with adversity," Zaruan said. "It is this drive, this determination, that makes humanity dangerous to anyone who tries to conquer your world." The Zorthans, for all their might, underestimated this. They assumed you were like the many other species they had crushed before, but you are not like them. You are different. As Zaruan spoke, the leaders of Earth began to understand what had been happening. They had always known that humans had a special ability to survive. It wasn't just their technology, but their refusal to be defeated. And now, with the galaxy watching, they realized that this quality, the will to survive, was more powerful than any weapon or army. The Karun leader then shared a chilling piece of history. We know that the Zorthans have a long history of conquering worlds. They are ruthless and efficient, but when they encountered humanity, they found something they did not know how to defeat. The Zorthans are not used to fighting against a species that is unpredictable, that fights with passion and ingenuity, that does not follow the usual rules of warfare. Zaruan paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. The Zorthans may have technology, but they lack the one thing that makes humanity truly powerful: creativity. Your species does not fight the way others do. You think on your feet, adapt to changing circumstances, and make decisions in the heat of battle that no other species would consider. The Zorthans could not understand this, and this is why they lost. As the meeting ended, the people of Earth were left with a new understanding of themselves. They were no longer just a young, unimportant species on the edge of the galaxy. They were a force to be reckoned with, not because of their advanced ships or weapons, but because of their spirit, their relentless drive to survive. In the days that followed, Earth's leaders held a series of discussions with the Karun and other alien species. The Karun offered their knowledge of the galaxy, providing valuable insight into the history and politics of the universe. The humans listened carefully, learning from the experiences of those who had been around for far longer than they had. But despite the wisdom offered by the Karun, humanity remained focused on one thing: ensuring the Zorthans would never return to threaten Earth again. They knew that their victory over the Zorthans was just the beginning. There were other alien species out there, and many of them would not be as quick to back down as the Zorthans had been. Humanity's greatest strength was not their advanced technology or military might. It was their willingness to fight, to adapt, and to never give up. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Earth was not a planet to be ignored. The Zorthans had failed, but the rest of the galaxy was now watching, waiting to see what humanity would do next. After humanity's unexpected victory over the Zorthan dominion, the galaxy's perception of Earth had shifted dramatically. The humans, once seen as weak and unimportant, had proven themselves to be more than capable of defending their world against an empire that had crushed countless others. This victory had sparked curiosity, admiration, and even fear among many alien species. They now understood that humanity's strength lay not only in their technology, but in their unyielding spirit to survive, adapt, and outsmart their enemies. As the news of Earth's victory spread, representatives from various alien civilizations began arriving in Earth's orbit. Some came seeking alliances, while others wanted to study the humans up close, eager to understand what made them so unique. Among these representatives were leaders from the Brunok Collective, a peaceful and diplomatic species known for their vast knowledge of galactic history. The Brunok, unlike the Zorthans, had never sought to conquer other worlds, but they recognized the power of humanity's will to fight. They saw an opportunity to build a relationship with Earth that would benefit both sides. Admiral Silva, the leader of Earth's space forces, was among the first to meet with the Brunok delegation. The Brunok representatives had long been observers of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations, and they were keenly aware of the balance of power in the universe. The Brunok had studied humanity from afar for centuries, but after the Zorthan defeat, they knew it was time to act. "We have come to learn from you," said Rylos, the leader of the Brunok delegation. His voice was calm, but there was a spark of respect in his eyes. "We watched your victory over the Zorthans. No other species has shown such resilience and creativity in the face of overwhelming force. We believe there is much we can learn from each other." Admiral Silva listened carefully, considering Rylos' words. The Brunok had never been interested in war, but their knowledge of diplomacy and strategy was unmatched. Their skills could prove valuable in securing Earth's place among the stars, especially as more alien species began to show interest in the young planet. "We are grateful for your words," Silva replied. "But we are not just interested in learning from others. We want to build something lasting. We want to create a network of species who value cooperation and mutual respect, not just power and control." Rylos nodded. "That is why we are here. We believe that Earth, with your unique ability to adapt and survive, could be the center of a new alliance, a force for peace and unity among the stars. The galaxy has seen your strength, but now it's time to show them your vision for the future." The idea of forming an alliance was appealing, but the decision wasn't easy. Not all species in the galaxy shared the same ideals. Some saw the rise of humanity as a threat, while others feared that Earth's influence would grow too quickly. But Silva and her team knew that Earth could not stand alone. They had to build relationships with other civilizations to ensure their survival and strengthen their position in the galaxy. Over the following months, Earth's leaders worked tirelessly to form the Human Galactic Alliance, HEA, a coalition of species who share humanity's commitment to peace, cooperation, and mutual defense. The Brynok were the first to join, offering their wisdom and technology to help establish the foundation of the alliance. Other species followed, including the peaceful Viral, known for their mastery of energy manipulation, and the Aloxi, a race of brilliant engineers who were eager to collaborate with humanity on new technologies. Together, these species worked to create a new kind of galactic order, one that valued diplomacy over domination, creativity over destruction, and unity over division. The HEA quickly grew, with more species sending representatives to Earth to sign the Charter of the Alliance. For the first time in galactic history, a truly diverse coalition of species united under one common goal: to ensure the peace and prosperity of all worlds, big and small. But not everyone in the galaxy was pleased with this new development. The Zorthans, still reeling from their humiliating defeat, watched from afar. Their once proud empire was now in disarray, and many of their leaders were angry at the sight of humanity's rise. They knew that the Human Galactic Alliance was not just a symbol of Earth's power, it was a direct challenge to their dominance in the galaxy. The Zorthans weren't ready to give up their claim to the stars. They had been defeated before, but they were far from finished. Their anger burned, and they began to make plans for their next move. The galaxy, they believed, was theirs by right, and they would stop at nothing to reclaim their place at the top. As tensions grew, the leaders of the HEA knew they were walking a delicate line. The Zorthans, though weakened, were still a formidable force. Earth and its allies would have to be ready for whatever came next. But one thing was certain: humanity had come a long way from the days of being a small, unimportant world. Now, Earth was at the heart of a powerful alliance, and its leaders were determined to shape the future of the galaxy. The rise of the Human Galactic Alliance had only just begun, and with it, the galaxy would never be the same again. As the Human Galactic Alliance, HEA, continued to grow, the galaxy watched with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Earth, once considered a mere speck in the vastness of the universe, had risen to become a key player on the galactic stage. With their unique ability to adapt, outthink, and outlast their enemies, humanity had gained the respect of many alien civilizations. But not all were pleased with this shift in power. The Zorthans, though beaten, were not finished. Their defeat had sparked a deep anger within their leaders. They could not accept the idea that a small, relatively young species had forced them to retreat. The Zorthans were known for their ruthless desire to dominate, and now they saw Earth as a threat to their long-standing hold over the galaxy. In secret, the Zorthans began to rebuild. Their empire, once vast and powerful, had been shattered, but their hunger for control had not waned. They knew they could not attack Earth directly again, not after their humiliating defeat. Instead, they set their sights on a new target: the heart of the Human Galactic Alliance itself. The Zorthan leaders decided to divide and conquer. They began to approach the weaker members of the HGA, offering them promises of power and resources in exchange for betrayal. Many of the smaller species in the Alliance were tempted by the Zorthans' offers. They had joined the HGA in the hope of securing their place in the galaxy, but they had never fully trusted humanity's leadership. To them, the Zorthans seemed like a more reliable force, powerful, ruthless, and uncompromising. Among those who were tempted by the Zorthans was the Viral, a species known for their mastery of energy manipulation. They had been one of the first species to join the HGA, but now, whispers of a secret alliance with the Zorthans began to spread. Earth's leaders were alarmed when they heard the rumors, but they knew they had to act quickly to prevent a divide within the alliance. Admiral Silva, who had been a key figure in the formation of the HGA, called an emergency meeting with the leaders of the other member species. The Brinnock, who had always been Earth's most trusted allies, were the first to arrive. Their calm wisdom had been invaluable in helping humanity navigate the complex political landscape of the galaxy. "We cannot allow this betrayal to spread," Admiral Silva said, her voice firm. "If the Zorthans succeed in turning even one of our allies against us, it will weaken the entire alliance. We must find a way to stop them before it's too late." The Brinnock leader, Rylos, nodded gravely. "The Zorthans are playing a dangerous game. They are trying to turn your allies against you, but they underestimate the strength of your alliance. Unity is your greatest weapon, and if you can maintain that unity, you will stand strong against them." As the meeting continued, Earth's leaders discussed their options. They knew they couldn't take the threat lightly. If the Zorthans were able to sway the Viral or any other species, it could unravel everything they had worked for. They had to find a way to neutralize the threat without breaking the alliance. In the following days, Earth's diplomats worked tirelessly to reach out to the Viral and other species who might be swayed by the Zorthans. They reminded them of the promises made when the alliance was formed, the commitment to peace, mutual defense, and cooperation. The humans made it clear that they would not tolerate any betrayal. Earth had worked hard to build the alliance, and they were prepared to do whatever it took to protect it. Meanwhile, Admiral Silva and her fleet commanders prepared for the worst. They knew the Zorthans would not back down easily. If diplomacy failed, they would be ready for battle. The HGA's military forces were strong, but they were not invincible. The Zorthans were ruthless, and they had the power to strike at any time. As the days passed, tensions continued to rise. The Viral, once considered Earth's trusted allies, began to waver. There were signs that some of their leaders were considering the Zorthans' offer. Admiral Silva and the HGA leaders knew they had to act fast to prevent the collapse of their hard-won alliance. Then, just as it seemed that the Viral were on the brink of betrayal, something unexpected happened. A group of Viral scientists, loyal to the HGA, uncovered the truth about the Zorthans' plans. They discovered that the Zorthans had been secretly manipulating the Viral's energy systems in an attempt to turn them against humanity. The Viral had been unknowingly influenced by the Zorthans, who had used their advanced technology to create false signals that made it appear as if humanity was plotting against them. With this knowledge, the Viral leaders quickly realized they had been deceived. They immediately reached out to Admiral Silva, apologizing for their hesitation and reaffirming their loyalty to the HGA. The alliance, though shaken, was saved, for now. But Earth's leaders knew this was only a temporary victory. The Zorthans would not give up easily. They would continue to plot, to scheme, and to attempt to divide the alliance. The humans had proven their ability to survive once, but now they faced a new challenge, keeping their newfound unity intact in the face of constant threats. The galaxy had learned one lesson. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with, but the road ahead was uncertain, and the struggle for peace and survival was far from over. The Human Galactic Alliance, HGA, had survived its first major crisis. The Viral, once swayed by the Zorthans' promises, had been saved from their manipulation, and unity was restored, at least for now. However, the events that had transpired served as a harsh reminder of how fragile peace could be in the galaxy. The Zorthans had shown that they would stop at nothing to weaken the alliance, and Earth's leaders knew they had to be prepared for even worse threats in the future. Admiral Silva stood before a holographic map of the galaxy in her war room, deep in thought. The situation was still tense. While the Vril had pledged their loyalty once more, many other species were still wary of the Zorthans' cunning. No one could forget how the Dominion had once ruled the stars with an iron fist. It was clear that they wouldn't go down without a fight. "Admiral, we need to discuss our next move," said Commander Nash, her right-hand officer. "The Zorthans are rebuilding, and we can't afford to wait until they're ready to strike again." Silva nodded, her face serious. "I know. We need to prepare ourselves for whatever comes next. If the Zorthans are planning something, we can't let them catch us off guard." The room fell silent as everyone turned their attention to the holographic display. Silva zoomed in on the Zorthan territories. Vast swaths of space, once controlled by their mighty fleet. Now those areas were scattered with debris from the last battle, but it was clear that the Zorthans had begun to rebuild their forces in secret. "We've heard whispers that the Zorthans are working with some of the galaxy's more unscrupulous species," Silva continued. "We don't know exactly who yet, but we can't rule out the possibility of them forming new alliances. It's not just the Zorthans we have to worry about. It's who they might bring with them." The room buzzed with nervous energy. Silva knew the challenge ahead was monumental. If the Zorthans managed to gather more allies, the balance of power in the galaxy could shift. The HEA might not be ready for an all-out war with such an overwhelming force. "Should we reach out to the Karun again?" asked Rylos, the Brynok leader. "They may have information that could help us prepare." The Karun, the ancient race of diplomats and scholars, had always maintained a neutral stance in galactic conflicts. Their wisdom and knowledge of galactic history were invaluable, but they had never involved themselves in active warfare. Still, their insights had been crucial in keeping the HEA united, and Rylos believed they might hold the key to understanding the Zorthans' next move. "We'll need all the help we can get," Silva replied, her tone resolute. "I'll contact the Karun and ask them to send an envoy. But we also need to focus on strengthening our own defenses. We cannot rely solely on diplomacy." The next few days were filled with intense planning and preparation. Earth's military worked closely with the Brynok and Vril to upgrade their fleets and share knowledge of advanced tactics. The Vril, with their deep understanding of energy manipulation, helped the Alliance create new forms of defense, while the Brynok provided strategic insight on how to counter the Zorthans' methods of psychological warfare. Meanwhile, the Karun sent a representative to Earth. Zaruan, the leader of the Karun, arrived with a small group of scholars. He had traveled from his homeworld to speak with Earth's leaders directly. "I have heard of the challenges you face," Zaruan said, his voice calm yet carrying a sense of urgency. "The Zorthans are not easily defeated, and their reach extends far beyond what you may realize. You must be cautious in your dealings with them." Silva and her team gathered around Zaruan, eager for any advice he could offer. The Karun's understanding of the galaxy's deeper politics was unmatched, and they knew that any information they could gain from Zaruan would be invaluable. "The Zorthans have always been opportunists," Zaruan continued. "They know how to exploit the weaknesses of other species. If you are to stand against them, you must be prepared to face their tactics, both on the battlefield and off." Zaruan paused, letting his words sink in. "The Zorthans have long used fear and division to control others. They will attempt to pit your allies against each other, and they may use deceit to turn factions within your alliance. It will take great strength and unity to resist them." Admiral Silva stood tall, her resolve hardening. She knew that the Zorthans' efforts to divide the alliance had been successful once, but it wouldn't happen again. Earth had shown it could survive, and now the galaxy would see just how strong their unity could be. "We have learned from the past," Silva said. "We won't let them divide us. We will face them together." Zaruan nodded, his eyes gleaming with quiet respect. "Then you must stay vigilant. The Zorthans are only one threat among many. As you grow stronger, Other species will take notice. Some will ally with you, but others may seek to undermine you. The galaxy is a place of both opportunity and danger. The Karam leaders' words weighed heavily on Silva and the rest of Earth's leaders. They had fought hard to build the human galactic alliance, and now they understood that the struggle for peace and unity would be ongoing. The Zorthans were only the beginning. As the meeting ended, Silva turned to her officers. "We'll continue to strengthen our defenses. We'll work with the Karun and all our allies. The galaxy is watching us, and we will show them that Earth is not a planet to be underestimated." With a renewed sense of purpose, the HGA prepared for the challenges ahead. The storm that loomed over the galaxy was growing stronger, but the humans and their allies were ready to face whatever came their way. The galaxy was on the brink of a new chapter, but uncertainty still hung in the air. The Zorthans had been preparing in the shadows, slowly rebuilding their strength. Despite the recent unity forged within the Human Galactic Alliance, HGA, the looming threat of the Zorthan Dominion couldn't be ignored. Earth and its allies knew that the coming confrontation could change everything. Admiral Silva paced in the command center of Earth's largest space station. The room was filled with officers from various species, each one focused on their tasks. The alliance had never been stronger, but everyone knew that the real test was approaching. The Zorthans were about to make their move. "We've received reports of increased Zorthan activity near the Outer Rim," Commander Nash said, his face grim as he looked at the data on his screen. "They're gathering fleets in secret. It looks like they're preparing for something big." "Then we won't wait for them to strike first," Admiral Silva replied, her voice steady. "We'll meet them head-on. It's time to show them what Earth and the HGA can do." The room fell silent as the officers processed her words. The weight of the moment was heavy, but there was no turning back. Earth had come so far, and its people were not about to let the Zorthans destroy the peace they had worked so hard to build. The Alliance's fleets, composed of Earth's advanced ships, the Brinox diplomatic vessels, the Viral's energy-based ships, and the Aloxi's brilliant engineering marvels, were all prepared. The HGA had developed new tactics and technologies to counter the Zorthans' aggressive methods. They were ready. As the fleets assembled, a message came in from the Karun. "We have observed the movements of the Zorthan fleet. It is larger than we anticipated. They are preparing to invade key planets in your alliance." The warning was clear. The Zorthans weren't just planning an attack. They were aiming to crush the alliance by targeting its most vulnerable members. Earth's military would have to hold the line, but the other species would need protection too. Admiral Silva made her decision. "We'll defend our allies, no matter the cost. Our mission is clear: protect the HGA, and stop the Zorthans from reaching our worlds." The fleets jumped into hyperspace, racing toward the Zorthan gathering point. As they traveled, Silva's mind raced. The outcome of this battle would determine the future of the galaxy. But one thing was certain: humanity would not be a passive player. They had earned their place in the stars, and they would fight to keep it. Hours later, the fleets arrived in the Outer Rim, where the Zorthans were preparing their assault. The sight of their massive ships, dark and menacing against the backdrop of space, was enough to make even the most battle-hardened officers tense. The Zorthan fleet was formidable, but the HGA had something the Zorthans did not: unity. The battle began with a roar. The Zorthans launched their first wave of attacks, trying to break through the HGA defenses. Their ships, designed for brute force, charged forward, firing powerful weapons at the Alliance's ships. But Earth's fleet, aided by the Brinox tactics and the Viral's energy shields, stood firm. "We won't let them divide us," Admiral Silva shouted as she watched the battle unfold on the screen. "Hold the line." The HGA's ships fought with precision. The Brinox ships, sleek and elegant, moved in coordinated formations, disrupting the Zorthans' attack strategy. The Viral, with their mastery of energy fields, created barriers that absorbed the Zorthans' blasts, allowing the HGA ships to return fire. The Aloxi engineers worked swiftly, adjusting their ship's defenses in real time, countering every move the Zorthans made. Despite the initial success of the HGA's defense, the Zorthans pressed on, throwing wave after wave of attack ships at their targets. Their strategy was clear: wear down the Alliance through sheer force. But Earth's fleet had something the Zorthans hadn't counted on: a determination to protect the future they had fought so hard to build. In the heart of the battle, Admiral Silva saw an opening. The Zorthan flagship, a massive vessel bristling with weapons, was vulnerable. If they could disable it, the rest of the fleet would fall apart. She ordered her ships to focus on the flagship, targeting its weak points. "We've got one shot at this," Silva said. "All ships, concentrate fire on their command ship." The battle raged on as the Alliance's fleet surrounded the Zorthan flagship. With a final powerful strike, Earth's forces disabled the flagship's engines, crippling the Zorthan fleet. The remaining ships scattered, realizing their mission was lost. The victory was hard-won. The HEA had lost ships, and many brave soldiers had given their lives in the battle. But the Zorthan threat had been neutralized. The Alliance had stood together, proving that unity and determination could overcome even the greatest of challenges. In the aftermath of the battle, Admiral Silva stood on the bridge of her ship, looking out at the remnants of the Zorthan fleet. The galaxy had changed forever. Earth and its allies had proven that they were a force to be reckoned with, and the future of the galaxy was now in their hands. "We've done it," Silva said quietly, a sense of relief washing over her. "The galaxy is safe." But even as they celebrated their hard-won victory, Earth's leaders knew that their work was far from over. The galaxy was vast, and while the Zorthans had been defeated, many other challenges lay ahead. The Human Galactic Alliance would continue to grow, building a future where peace, cooperation, and the strength of unity would always triumph over division. The story of humanity's rise was just beginning, and as long as they stood together, the galaxy would have no choice but to respect the power of Earth's will.